I want to know what Cora.
Hey everybody, thank you for joining us. I'm going to share my screen here, the whole screen. There we go. I'm going to minimize our faces. And so today it's our first Friday Fast 15 of 2022. Typo there, autopilot on 2021. So glad you're here. Our agenda today, we just did some little welcome intros off recording, but we're going to look at Google Task and Google Keep, and then we'll end with some Q&A. So again, at any time, if you have some way that you're using Task or Keep, and you want to share that with us, we want to learn from all of you. And if you have questions, come off mute. And then Corinne, if I miss a chat, because the floating bar thing goes away, if you don't mind letting me know if there's a chat question. Okay, so Google Tasks, this is what we're going to look at here for Google Tasks. It really is a little to-do list or lists. You can have multiple. You can access it right from your computer, but you can also access it through your mobile device. We're going to look at the different, probably maybe the most common ways you might use tasks or access it, but there's that side panel along the right. And we'll focus today on adding a task from Gmail, from Calendar. And so we'll look at adding a new task, adding a subtask to that. And then we'll look quickly at the task history, deleting a task, completed tasks. And then there's one other place in Spaces where you could assign tasks to others. So, and we'll share this slide deck with you all afterwards, but I'm gonna pop out here. And so this is that side panel that we've been accessing different Google apps here. We are gonna look at task here. So you could start a task right from your Google slide deck, but we're most likely will just be in our Gmail. And it's this little circle with the checkbox right here. And if you click on that, it's gonna open up that side panel a little bit more. And here is kind of the anatomy of it. So up here at the top will be different task lists that you can create. So you can create a brand new task list. You can just have one task list if you want, or you could have different tasks for those different projects that you're working on. The default one, when you click on that, I think that the default will be My Task. And when you click on that list that you want to add a task to, if you've already have tasks going, they'll be listed there. And then you can add a new task. So to add a task, you just click on Add a Task. And you'll title it, and you can see I have some test tasks there. So task number 2, I can put in the details, remember to complete this, whatever it is. And if you want, you can add a date, and you can add a time. So if I want to do this next Tuesday, and I want to complete this task at 9:30, you can also, you don't have to, but it is a customization. You can have it be repeated. So maybe there's something, Sandra, I bet you have some repeating tasks that you do. And so if you wanted that to show up, you can have it show up every day, or you can have it show up for 3 days in a row. If it's a weekly or monthly or yearly reminder, you can set that up all in one click. So then once I've filled in all those details, now you can see there's that task number 2. And the other way you can customize it is you could prioritize. So if this is task number 2, I probably want to move that down. I have my test task, then task number 2. So you can organize that as you're like prioritizing your day. So that's one way from Gmail. You're in your Gmail, and you can just click on that side panel and hit task and start adding in the details when you add a task. You can also say you get an email from somebody and it's a reminder that you want to do a thing. So here's an email from Corinne on a project we're working on. I can just click on that email. Oops, I didn't want to open it. I just click and hold, and I can drag that over here. And I usually have to do it a couple times because it doesn't stick always. Ta-da! But now there is that task coming directly from the email, and you can retitle it if you needed to. If you needed to make that clear, you could put in details, again, add the date and time. But notice it also is going to link me right to that email. So if I was looking at my task list and that wasn't the email that I had up, so if I'm just in my inbox and I go, oh, I'm working on this task, there's an email, and it's going to drop me right into that email, which I think is super helpful. When I complete that task, you can check it complete, and it is going to drop it below this down here into another little section for completed tasks. So there might be tasks that you want to keep track of and just, did I do it? Did I really do it? So you could keep those here and see all of your completed tasks. And then if it was one that you're like, no, it's done, but I don't need to remember I did it, I know I did it, you can clean up your completed tasks, or you can keep them there as a reference. If you complete a task, if you accidentally clicked, sometimes my finger gets going and I go, oh, actually, I didn't want to complete that task. You can, you're supposed to be able to undo it. You should be able to, oh yeah, just unclick it and it popped it back up there. So just check mark to complete it. Oops, made a mistake, undo that and click by that. I'm gonna do it again since that was a little cumbersome there. Here we go. And if I go, I didn't want that one completed, then you can pop it back up there. So those are two ways to add tasks right from Gmail. You can also add a task from your calendar. And so this might be another space that you are adding tasks. We'll just have the day view up. I do want to show over here on the left-hand side is a list of all of your calendars. And so I had not really noticed that I had a task calendar here showing until I was prepping for this. So right now you can see everything that I have on my calendar, which could be a little messy, but if I uncheck my Jody calendar, then I can see just the tasks that I have added to my task calendar, and I can open those. I can edit those from here. I can go right to my task, or it tells me that this task is in the my task list versus one of my other lists. You can mark it complete. You could totally delete it. If I wanted to edit it, then I can pop in here, change the title. If I went, oh shoot, I put that in my general my task list, but actually it should be in this list. You can change the list. And then you can also just add a new task from the calendar. So if I was in my calendar and went, oh, I need to do a thing, notice when you click to add an event, there are other options here. So I don't want to add an event. I do want to add a task. So if I click task, then I can say calendar task. I can put in all my descriptions. I can change the date and time. I can say whether it repeats or not, and then I can choose which task list do I want that in, and hit save, and then there it is on my January 12th calendar. So you can see it in the task list. I can just open my task list over here as well. It is in that sidebar. You can see all my tasks. Or you can also see it on your calendar. So there's a couple different views depending on what works best for your workflow and for your organization. I did want to show how to add a subtask. So say in my calendar task, I there's multiple things to my calendar task. So if you click on those 3 dots or the snowman, however people have different names for that, click on those 3 dots, I can add a subtask. And so I need to do part 1 and say what that is. And then I have, are you going to save it? So now I have my calendar task with part 1. And then I could add another subtask, part 2 to the project, title, everything there, away. And let's delete that. And then you can, just like you can with the whole task, you can reorganize those subtasks too, so that they're in order. Then when I have part 1 done, I can check it complete. It's going to drop it down below. Or if I did part 1 and then 10 minutes later I did part 2, you can just mark them all complete, and all of those, part 1, part 2, the whole task will drop down into your completed. So you really can build out that task if there's multiple steps or multiple parts. And then the third way I wanted to show you is over here in Spaces. Here is a team that I'm working with. There's 4 of us in this group. And so we can have a chat just between this group about the projects we're working on. I think we might have talked about this last month. We can share files, but we can also assign tasks right here. And so this was our joke task. Anne was going to bring team donuts, but you can add another task. Smile, I can assign that to anyone in the group, add those details, I'll send it to myself. And then within that group that we're working on, we're not always in the same room at the same time. So we can be working on that project and communicating within our Google Space and make sure that that project is getting taken care of. And that we're all up to date to see, okay, where are we at in the project? What's left? What are we working on? So that is a quick review of tasks. Again, right here, you can get it in Google Slide. Any Google app that you have open that has that side panel, you can create tasks from that. But I was figuring that probably most likely we would just add our tasks from our email and from our calendar. So that was my focus today. So any questions, wonderings about Google Tasks, or any ideas that you popped up in your head and thought, ooh, I'm going to use it like this, or this would be a great support for this project? Yeah, oh, I didn't see. We had another person join us. Welcome.
Hi. I like the idea of the text because usually I'm with the notebook writing and all that stuff, and then I have another notebook someplace, and and having it here, and then you said that I can redo it, reuse the list.
Yes.
That'll save me a lot of time. Just one click of a button and have my list reset for another day or week.
Yes. Yeah. So if you did, like, if I didn't get to this task today, then I can just move it. Be like, oh, well, I didn't get to everything today, so let's just move this to the next day or the next time. So, and you don't lose your sticky notes like I do that are piled up on my desk, making a big, huge mess. So, yay. Oh, good. Good. Okay, so now we're going to take a look at Google Keep, and this definitely was new for me this last couple months. So Google Keep can be a place that you take notes. You can also create lists here. So you might play around 1 week, play with tasks, and 1 week play with Keep for lists. But you can also add drawings. You can add images. And this is what we're going to look at. We're going to look at how to access it from the side panel and from the waffle. And we'll look at how to add a new note, add a list, ways to draw or add an image. You can share this. So you could share just one list with a collaborator, so you could both be adding to it, marking things complete. You can take your Google Keep item and automatically drop it right into a Google Doc, which is cool. We'll check out some of the settings. And then, of course, when you're done with something, you can delete it, or you can archive it into a label. And so that label will sound pretty familiar from the our Gmail labels files that we, I think in Outlook they were folders, but they're called labels here in our Gmail. So they'll be kind of, that'll feel similar, I think. So let's look at Keep. And I'm going to stay right here in Google Slides. And Keep is this little light bulb icon on the side here. And when I open it, I can see things that I've already saved in my Keep, things that I kept. And so I can automatically just click on something and I can add it to, I can, oh, why are you not doing this? You should just pull over. Oh yeah, sorry, here we go. Those 3 little dots. And then I could add it to the slide. So different than from just inserting an image. But if I click on those 3 dots, I get that menu, add to slide, and now I have that image that I saved from some other place that I was working, but can easily access it right within slides and not have to be bopping around between folders. I could add a note here. So maybe I had a note, we were doing this presentation and I thought, oh, next week, if I'm redoing this, I'm going to add a note to myself that says, next time I do Keep, remember the 3 dots. And then that'll be, that I'll be able to find that note. And it is related to this slide deck, which is pretty cool. So it can kind of keep that organized for you. So that was a quick access, but let's look at starting right in Keep. So if you go to the little waffle, the 3x3, and we have all of these Google apps that we're using, you scroll down, you'll see Keep. And there are some similar structures to Drive and Docs and things like that. You can put it in dark theme if you like dark theme. But right here, you can just start taking a note. So say you are, you're at a staff meeting or you're in a conference and you can just start taking notes. And as you take your notes, you could set a remind me, so that would ding you of if it was a task, but we already have tasks, so you might not want to do the remind me thing. You can add a collaborator. So this is where, if Corinne and I were working on a project, I can add her so she sees these notes. Save that, she'll be invited to that. And I can see if you can add multiple people that would all be able to contribute to this note. And then you can do some color coding. So you've seen my calendar before, I kind of have a color coding system for my calendar to help me with my visuals. But maybe you're working on multiple projects or with different teams. And so for one team, you want all of your notes to be in one color, because you can search to be able to find, I just need to see all my green notes, which is this, or my high priority things you might have be a different color. Green is my favorite, so I like to pick that. You can add an image. So this can be right from your computer. You can add an image to that, and you can archive it. So you don't need to see the all of these things that you have in your Keep, but you don't want to delete it either. So you could archive it and be able to see it later if you needed it. And then there are a couple more settings here. Delete, add a label. So if you want to add a label, this could be all my notes for Keep on Keep here. And that'll create that. And then over here, when I hover over my label, it tells me I have a Keep label. I have a test label. And then I could also edit. I can look at my archive. So from those 3 dots, add a label. I can move it. I could go, oops, I didn't want it in keep. I want it in my test label. And then it's there. The other items in those 3 dots, adding a drawing, making a copy, showing checkboxes, or this I think is kind of cool, is copy to Google Docs. So if I click on copy to Google Docs, it is going to make a Google Doc for me with the notes. So maybe you know, if you're sending it out on a newsletter or some other way you're going to collaborate, you're putting stuff in your Keep, but you also want to be able to send it out in a bigger way to others, then you can put it right into a Google Doc, which I think is cool.
So Jody, one more thing to add there.
Please,
I
yeah.
love this feature of Keep. If you click on your notifications, so all the way back on the left, no, on the note itself. So each of these notes can actually have reminders for locations. Did you already do this and I missed it?
No, thank
Okay,
you.
so if you do pick a place, and I love this, like if you visit multiple sites, maybe you have a to-do list or, you know, tasks or things you have to tell people. So you can just choose a location, type in, yeah, well, it won't, yeah, it's going to be specific to like Google Maps. But, or if you have a shopping list that you share with your family, you can have it pop up. So then when you get to the location, the Keep note pops up and says, hey, it looks like you're at the Tillamook Service Center. Here's your task list for here. Yeah, it's really cool.
Wow.
Unfortunately, it's just one place, so you can't have it like pop up at every Safeway or something.
Right.
but that pick a place, like that location thing, I just think that's good technology, right? Because I might keep a list, but not remember to check it before I leave a location. So
yeah. Beautiful. Okay, so yeah, so thank you. So this was this little the remind me, click remind, and then you can say a date and time that you want that reminder, or the pick date and time, or pick a place. Thank you. And I didn't ask, has anyone in our group used Keep?
No.
Yeah, and I haven't either, except when I was in, I think it was popping between apps, and there was a picture that I wanted to be able to access in 2 different places. So I saved it in Keep, and then I could put it in that other place, but that was a while ago. That's why it's a little fuzzy.
So it looks like, this is Sandra, and it looks like in 2019, I made some notes in there.
All right.
And when I clicked on it, I'm like, hey, where did those come from? 2019. So I was deleting one except for one that I use a revenue code on. So I must have learned this at some point or did something, but
something prompted you to add a Keep.
Yeah.
That's always the case, right,
a good
Sandra?
reminder.
Like, yeah, I was like, oh yeah, I did do this. And they do give these a lot of love. Like prior in when Jody went over tasks, a good example is for a while you could only put in a due date, like the date. You couldn't put in a time, which was terrible because you might have, you know, it would kind of come up randomly. So they do get some love. So Sandra, as you're revisiting it, even if you did retain some of that information, it's probably changed. So it's worth exploring again, just to see if it might be applicable. And Jody and I can always help you with kind of which tools will work for the right job.
Yes. Thank you. So I just want to show if I did want to archive, where do we go? You can archive it, as I just lost. Here's our little archive. And now when I go over here to the left-hand side panel, if I hit archive, it's going to show that Keep reminder that I put there that I don't want to delete, but I also don't need it in that visual space. And the other thing that might be helpful if you start choosing to use this and you get a lot of items in your Keep, is you can pin to the top. And so if they're, you know, like Sandra, you were saying, you're using workspace priority to have access to those docs you're using often. This is kind of a similar thing, that you can pin that note, pin that image that you use, that code to the top, so it's easy to find when you need it. Okay, I'm just looking over at my other screen to make sure that I went over the things. And we're good. All right, I'm going to stop sharing.